right, what's going on, y'all? So today I'm going to talk about what I personally consider to be the most important factors when it comes to muscle growth. Now, this isn't going to be the most important factors for diet. I'm not even going to talk about, PEDs or the best supplements. Those are all important, but, this is very, very specific to the most important training factors for building muscle in the most efficient way possible. Most people I see in the gym are lifting in a very, very inefficient way. They're trying to put on muscle quickly, and they're limiting their gains because of how they're working out. And if you guys have been following me for a while, you know that especially over the last year, but really 2 years, I've been experimenting with pretty much every training style, different amounts of volume, different techniques and different movements. And I've narrowed down 3 to 4 factors that are extremely important if you're trying to put muscle on very efficiently. Now, if you blend these factors together and you use all of them, you will grow a lot faster than how you're growing right now. I was looking back at literally March of last year compared to March of this year, and it actually blew me away by how much I've grown since then. And I do attribute a lot of that to how I train. So if you guys have been following me for a while, you know that I'm not a volume guy. I like to do high intensity bodybuilding. So that's going to be the first factor, is high intensity bodybuilding. So to kind of give it down in a nutshell, if you guys haven't heard my talks on it before, most people when they go train, they're doing volume. So you might have, 4 or 5 movements per body part. Let's just go ahead and say you're doing incline bench press. You're going to go ahead and start, say 12 reps at 225. Then you might go ahead and add, 10 pounds to each side. Now you're at, 245, try to get 10 reps. And then your last set, you might get, 8 reps with, 255 or whatever. But it's incrementally, increasing the weight. And with that, your reps typically come down. So your top set is usually your last set. I do things kind of flipped, and I do a lot less volume. So instead of having 3 to 4 sets per movement, I usually only do 2 working sets per movement. What I'll do is say the same movement, incline bench press. I'll go ahead and do 2 to 3 warm-up sets. Now those warm-up sets aren't working at all. It could be anywhere from 6 reps at a very light weight all the way to 2 reps at a weight pretty close to what I'm going to actually be working with. But my first actual set is my top set. So the warm-ups are literally just getting me safely to the weight of my top set. Now because of this, I'm fresh on my top set. So instead of the top set being the last set, the top set's my first set, so I'm lifting heavier weight. So I'll go ahead and go all to failure with that. I'm typically in an 8 to 12 rep range for most body parts. And then I'll do a back off set. Usually the back off sets, I'm decreasing the weight by 10 to 20%. And then I might throw in an intensity extender such as a drop set, rest pause set, doing partial reps. But that's really it. It's 2 working sets per movement. You're lifting heavier weight than you would if you're just doing volume. And that's really, really what I attribute to putting on very, very dense, mature muscle in a lot faster way. When I switched over to high intensity bodybuilding from the just typical volume approach, which I would say 95% plus of people do, I really, really started not only gaining actual size, but it was actual more dense muscle. And because of that too, I've gotten a lot stronger. I'm the strongest I've ever been right now, and I do attribute it to high intensity bodybuilding. It's kind of a blend between power building, so powerlifting and bodybuilding, and then just the volume approach. It's kind of right there in the middle. This is what Dorian Yates did, and there's a lot of the top bodybuilders right now that are doing it, and in my opinion is by far the most efficient way to build muscle very quickly. All right, so the second factor I've got for you is progressive overload. Now this is something I'm sure you've already heard of, but this is something that I see most people not doing in the gym, and whenever people come up asking me for tips in the gym, this is usually the first thing I ask them. I say, let me see your logbook. Most people out there don't have a logbook. Now you can use a phone app, all of that. I'm old school. I'll use a composition book, and essentially what I do is, I'll write down, the date, the gym I'm at, and then what the workout is of the day. So if it's push A, and then I'll go ahead and list down all the movements. So I'll have all the movements, and then I'll have my sets, and then how many reps. So then what I'll do is the next time I get to push A, I'll just flip back in the book, and now I'm trying to either get, an increase in reps or an increase in weight. But it's continually trying to level up from the workout before. If you're doing that and you're getting stronger, you're going to be putting on muscle. Assuming you're eating right and all of that, you will be putting on muscle. So my biggest recommendation for most people out there, especially beginners, even up to intermediates, is log every single set you do, and then obviously try to progress from there. All right, so the next 2 points are the ones that I've really been paying attention to over the last year. These ones have been big game changers for me, and it's ones that I feel like most people, especially in the beginning of their lifting careers, they neglect a lot. They'll hear about it, but they really won't focus on it as much. And I do think, you know, in the beginning, not focusing on these two factors as much, because, you know, all the factors put together can kind of be overwhelming if you're just learning how to lift. But these two factors, once you implement these with, you know, doing high intensity bodybuilding with progressive overload, this is where you're going to explode very quickly. So the first one of these two is having full control and having a full range of motion. So this is where you need to go ahead and really how to learn how to lift properly and effectively. So, you know, most people I see in the gym, they're choosing a weight that's just way too heavy. You've got to stop the ego lifting. You know, who cares how much you're lifting in there? If you're trying to really put on size, you know, go ahead and lower the weight, get the control and the full range of motion, and then you can progress from there. So, you know, after this video, if you want to go ahead and implement these factors, you might go ahead and kind of look at how you've been lifting, and you might need to go ahead and drop some weight. Now what's going to happen though, since now you're using full range of motion, you're actually controlling the weight, now you're going to go ahead and get stronger with that movement a lot quicker. You're going to have to build back up to where the weight you were using, but you actually weren't using it correctly. Now doing it with a full range of motion, you're going to grow faster and you're going to get a lot stronger a lot quicker. So, you know, a good example is I see all the time on, you know, tricep rope push down on cables. I see so many people, they're just swinging the rope all the way down. You know, you really want to lock those elbows in, really slow controlled movement, squeeze at the bottom, all of that. So choose a weight that you can actually control throughout the entire movement, not just at the bottom of the movement, not just at the top, but throughout the entire movement, and then take that to failure. So really focus on full range of motion. You know, that means with chest, you know, really push your chest out. Don't be activating the delts, all of that. So you're trying to really isolate and use the muscle that you're trying to actually target. You're trying to use that most effectively, and you're only going to do that if you've got full control with a full range of motion. All right, so the last factor I've got for you is the one that I've been playing with really over the last 6 months. And this one is one that, you know, I'm now focusing on extremely heavily because I've seen pretty immense growth in the last 6 months by just incorporating this. And this is time under tension. Now, I know you probably heard time under tension. You know, a lot of people attribute it to just adding more volume, you know, adding more sets, all of that. I'm talking about actually increasing the time of your set. Now, the best way to do this is slow down your eccentrics, slow down the negatives of the movement. And this is where you're gonna have a lot of really efficient muscle breakdown, especially if you're using it with high intensity bodybuilding, you're using full range of motion, all of that. So, you know, a good example is you might be doing Smith machine incline bench press. You know, go ahead and explode on the way up, and on the way down, really control it. So a good rule of thumb, what I like to do, what I've been doing is my eccentrics are about 3 seconds. Now, when you're doing this, what this is gonna cause, especially if you're doing, you know, a set where you're doing, you know, 12 reps, maybe even 12 to 15, your sets are now gonna be, you know, sometimes a minute plus. And you can even do this on your heavy movements. Say you're doing hack squat, you know, really slow down, going all the way down to the bottom, squeeze, and pop back up. But slowing down on the eccentrics, on the negatives of the movement has been an absolute game changer for me. And I know it is for most people. Dorian Yates has even talked about it in some podcasts that he felt he had the most growth from the negatives of the movement than the actual push or pull of the movement itself. And I'm experiencing that right now. It makes it burn a lot more. The sets get a lot more challenging, but I have noticed a lot more growth because of that. So, you know, to kind of recap, you know, the factors that I personally use to grow very efficiently is high intensity bodybuilding. You know, that's where you're going to just go ahead and get very strong, get that dense muscle, you know, full range of motion, full control, progressive overload. So each time I go in there, I'm trying to level up, trying to beat what I did before, and then time under tension. And I personally do that by really slowing down the negatives of the movement. Now, because of that, you can't just slow down the negatives of the movement with weight you can't control. You kind of can see how all these factors work together. You've got to have a weight you can control to really control the negative of the movement, and get the ego lifting out of there. You know, don't focus on just trying to jerk up the weight, you know, swinging the weight around. You're just inefficiently lifting at that point, and you're really limiting your gains. If you go ahead and really lock down kind of the science-based approach of the best way to perform the movement, and then you do that with slow eccentrics and you progress week to week, you will grow very, very, very quickly. But these are my personal favorite factors for training wise, for building muscle in the most efficient way. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys kind of got something out of it. If you did, please go ahead and smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Leave any comments or questions down below. Be happy, be positive, be powerful. Have a great rest of your day.